Boom! What's up, guys? How you doing? Have you seen Captain America Civil War? Well, if you haven't, why are you watching this video? Because this is a fair spoiler warning for Captain America Civil War. Unless you don't care about the movie and you just like listening to me, then hey, how you doing? Ready for some spoilers? Because I'm ready to talk about it. Ready to go in depth with this movie. Ready to break it apart and tell you everything I loved about it and maybe some dislikes. Every movie has those. But let's begin. Now I want to break this apart because there's a lot of stuff to talk about and I'm kind of going to talk fast because there's a lot of stuff to cover. So, hopefully you don't miss anything. I want to say one thing straight off the bat. There's not a lot of stuff to spoil that happens, like big twists. No one dies, really, besides Crossbones at the beginning, and I was a little disappointed because I really like the character of Crossbones in the comic books, but who cares, let's just have him kill himself. So he blows up, and by doing that, you know, Scarlet Witch throws him in, trying to save Cap, like she uses her witch powers to throw him into the building, but he blows up still, blowing up that building, killing all those people, and that's when our story really starts, because that's when Mr. Thunderbolt Ross comes in with his big angry mustache, and he's like, hey, you guys need to, you know, work for the government now. Here's the Sokovia Accords, talk it over, blah. And of course, that's when the lines were drawn between the two teams. Now, here's the thing I want to talk about. Some people are very one-sided. They're like, well, of course you're going to say Team Cap, and I was too. I'm a very big Team Cap, but when I walked out of that movie, I'm like, I can see both sides, and here's how. For all of you big Team Cap people and saying Iron Man doesn't even make sense, I'll tell you. Okay, so what is the government asking? The government is asking the Avengers to report to them, right? Okay. The Avengers, you say, well, why? They protect us, but there's casualties. What does that sound like? The military. The military protects us, right? But sometimes people get in harm's way. That's just what happens. But who does the government talk to? Who do they work for? The government. So why should the Avengers be any different? That's what Iron Man's saying. He's like, we're basically a military force. We're a people trying to protect our country, our world, basically, from threats, but sometimes there's casualties. And the military has no problem in reporting to the government and doing what they order, so Iron Man's like, well, we'll be fine, but then you have Cap's side, where he's saying, he's like, well, what if they send us somewhere we don't want to go? What if they send us what if they don't send us somewhere we want to go? Like, what if there's like, what if there's like an earthquake in Siberia, and they're like, oh, we can go save people, and it's like, the government's like, no, we can't get into that stuff, that's not a country that we want to mess with. So it's like, well, our hands are tied here, so both sides, can't you see? I could. That's just, both sides I just want to split up, so you can really not go in one side and you can see both. But I thought this was a very Captain America movie, and I can explain why. Bucky, Cap, and Iron Man were in the forefront, of course. You know, you had Cap was searching for Bucky for the first half of the movie with his help of his Avengers that wanted, you know, not the Sokovia Accords. So when he found him, and I thought Bucky was a very emotional character. I thought that was great. I thought I could see Bucky, guys, was terribly ruined in the head. There's one of the lines that he used that I really felt for him. Excuse me. A line that I really felt for him, but we'll get into those. But I really think that I could see both sides. Sadly, no one did die, like I was saying before. In the comic book, if you didn't know, the big twist at the end, well, I guess it's not at the end, it's a separate comic series, but Captain America dies. But I thought that, let's get into a character that I really want to talk about. If you were thinking Spider-Man, it's not. It's someone that I did not talk about at all in my non-spoiler, because I didn't want to. Baron Zemo, or as he just goes by Zemo in this movie. Baron Zemo is a very big comic book villain for Captain America. Does he have powers in the comics? No, but he's an expert weapons designer, so he could battle Cap hand-to-hand combat and maybe win. But he never did, because he was a very psychological villain, and people were like, oh, he was pretty lame. I thought, guys, that Baron Zemo is the best villain that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has, and I'll explain why. Now, you hear him listening to this thing on his phone, you're like, oh, he's listening to his wife who's telling him something, but then you see how emotional this really is. He's the whole movie trying to get to this Siberian base where the Winter Soldier was held back in the 90s. You don't know why, he just keeps asking about this date, 1991, someday, I forget. But, so he's just trying to get there. And now you hear this plot point about all these other Winter Soldiers that they had, and everyone's like, oh, okay, so they're going to fight them at the end. They actually never do, because they actually all died. Baron Zemo shot them all. And you're like, oh, plot point thrown out the window. That's what I thought too, but then I really thought about it. When Baron Zemo at the end, I know I'm skipping around, but Baron Zemo at the Siberian base was like, he's like, I have there's all these Hydra agents that tried to stop them before by using these weapons. He's like, my plan was never to use that. He's like, my plan is simple, make the Avengers kill each other. And I thought that was great. And how do you do it? Because he kept asking, you know, about that date, and you know why? Because on that date that he kept wanting to know, there was a film footage of a mission that the Nazis sent Winter Soldier to do. And guess who he went to go kill? None other than Tony Stark's parents, and Cap knew about it. And so, at the very end, when Iron Man's like, no, guys, I'm on your side now, I understand, you guys, Bucky's a good guy. He sees that footage, and because the movie starts out with, you see a flashback of Bucky doing that mission. You don't see who he killed, but you just see him shoot someone. And so, then something comes on the screen and Iron Man's like, I know that street, what is this? And I'm like, no, I'm like, that was his parents, and then it shows Bucky from the 90s punching the crap out of Howard Stark, killing him, and then choking out Mrs. Stark, Tony's mom, and I'm just like, oh no, and Cap's like, Tony, he's a victim, and then Tony's like, I don't care, he killed my mom, and just he's out for blood for Bucky, and Bucky's just hightailing it, trying to run away, and Iron Man is just, and it was just so sad, especially because that line that Bucky gives, because Bucky's the victim, when Iron Man's like holding him down, he's like, do you even remember them? And Bucky's like, I remember all of them, because he feels terrible. He has to carry that guilt of killing all those people that he did as the Winter Soldier. And so that fight at the end, you had Bucky was just trying to run away, but then they was just screw it, and they had the fight, and Bucky went for the arc reactor, but Iron Man shot his chest beam and it just blew off Bucky's arm, so Bucky's out of the fight, and Iron Man and Captain America is just slow motion, just fight, going at each other. That famous shot in the comic books where Cap holds up his shield and Tony blasts, like, Tony is just going with all this strength here. He wants to make him pay for his parents, and I mean, because Tony seems all this cool inside and collected because he buried the guilt of his parents' death. But now he has someone to blame for it again, Bucky. And now he's just letting all that anger out. And the part that got me so sad at the end of the fight, when Cap put the shield down in Tony, I'm like, oh, Tony's done, his power's out. And so Cap walks away with Bucky, and Iron Man just gets up, he's like, that shield doesn't belong to you! My father made that shield! And then Cap just drops the shield and walks away, and I was almost crying, because they're friends, but it was just so sad, because you knew that had to happen, and that fight was just everything that was building up, that ending fight. But let's talk about the fight that was almost even better, the airport fight scene. Now, I've dissected the characters that I really want to talk about. Let's talk about this big, action-packed fight. Now, I don't want to go into detail about Giant Man, but Giant Man shows up, and Spider-Man takes him down, Empire Strikes Back style, he says. And Spider-Man had some great lines in there. The only problem I had with Spider-Man was Aunt May is way too hot, okay? Aunt May's supposed to be a sweet old lady. That actress, she's a great actress, but why would you make her that young? I don't know, just gripe, but... So you had that big fight, and of course it ended with Vision trying to shoot Falcon with his beam. Falcon dodges it, and it hits War Machine instead. War Machine just goes free falling down, and he's paralyzed then, basically. Until, you know, Tony gives him those robot, like, knee brace things, so he's learning how to walk again. But then Tony puts all of them in prison after the airport fight, and, you know, they're all criminals now. And that's why, in my opinion, Baron Zemo is the best villain, because he came the closest to beating the Avengers. He broke them apart, guys. This was not a happy ending. The Avengers are torn apart, okay? Half of them are wanted criminals, and the other half are, like, all depressed and sad, like, oh, what are we gonna do now? Because Baron Zemo won, basically. Like, at the end, when the guy's interrogating him, he's like, how does it feel? You lost. And Baron Zemo's like, did I? He didn't. Technically, he did what he wanted to do. He broke up the Avengers. And I thought that was great, and that's why Baron Zemo was a great villain, in my opinion. I thought this movie was great. It just pulled all the strings, everything building up to. The only complaint I could have was no one died, but I can see why, you know, but I don't feel any emotional, like, tension anymore, because I'm like, they're not going to kill anyone at this point, besides Vision. He's totally screwed. Stone in his head. I tell you, Thanos is going to rip that out and Vision's dead. And they did try to build a relationship between Scarlet Witch and Vision, if you saw that. they hinted at, like, in the comic books. Those are all the characters I can think of. There's my plot synopsis. I'm going to give Captain America Civil War, like I said, I'm pretty sure I gave it a 9 out of 10. If I didn't, that's my grade for it. Those are all my spoilerific details. I'm pretty sure I didn't leave anything out. If I did, please tell me why. And also, there was 2 after-credit scenes, by the way. One before credit and one after. The first one is Bucky going back under the ice. He's like, you know what, I'm too dangerous, Cap. You're going to have to put me back under. Cap's like, okay. So he goes to Black Panther and he's like, that's like the safest facility for Bucky. And so they put him back under, and Cap's like, thanks to T'Challa, and he's like, they cannot find him here. They might try. And then, like, it shows, like, Wakanda. I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. 2018 Black Panther movie, I'll be there. Second one was Spider-Man messing with his, like, spider web things. And then the spider signal flashed on the wall, and it's like, Spider-Man will return. I'm like, alright. Totally knew that, but, you know, cool. So that's everything, Captain America Civil War. I'm going to take a break from my videos for a little bit, guys. Don't worry, it will be probably no more than 4 days, I would say, because I've kind of been marveled out. But I will tell you, coming in a few days will be my top 5 most anticipated summer movies of 2016. So look forward to that video. Hope you guys are having a great Mother's Day. Hope you guys are having a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next one.